Hello and welcome to my top 10 moments from the series Mammals video. So just like I did with Planet Earth 3 and Planet Earth 2, I thought I would round up the series by talking about my personal picks for the top 10 best moments from the series. So this was a great series and there were quite a lot of good moments that didn't make the cut, but these are just the top 10 that I personally enjoyed the most or that stuck with me the most. So at number 10 I've got the very cheery sequence, which is the cannibal Arctic foxes. So this wasn't something that I thought happened. It wasn't something I expected, and it just took me by surprise. So this was a really good sequence. It was very bleak. It's one of the more bleak sequences from the series. Arctic foxes aren't animals you would think would cannibalize each other, but as conditions are worsening up north, that is exactly what's happening. The one shot of the Arctic fox with the other Arctic fox's head in its mouth was particularly harrowing, but the rest of it, they're fighting over the body. Really horrific stuff, but yeah, as I said, maybe not the most enjoyable sequence. It's not the bleakest sequence that's going to appear on this list, so look forward to that. But it's a very good sequence and it stayed with me until now, basically. At number 9, I've got the star-nosed mole. So there were a lot of sequences in this series which featured animals that we don't see very often, and specifically ones that we haven't seen since The Life of Mammals, which came out in 2002. There was a trend of that throughout the series, and the star-nosed mole was probably the best one. It was just a really in-depth sequence. We got a very good look at how it uses its nose as a sensory organ. The stuff with it underwater, using it to breathe underwater, that was really cool. The whole sequence was great. Again, it's an animal we don't see very often. We probably won't get a sequence like this again that's as in-depth. Yeah, I was very glad we had it. At number 8, we've got the howler monkeys. So the howler monkeys was a really good sequence. There wasn't a lot in this series that had an environmental focus. There was definitely a shift away from that, which, as I've said in all my reviews, I liked that. However, the fact that this sequence dealt with environmental issues in a very effective way was great. The whole sequence was so tense, so them just walking along the cables, like, they could get electrocuted. You've seen evidence of howler monkeys getting electrocuted. So you really felt the tension there. I felt like I really needed every single individual to get across to that bit of forestry. It was really good. It was just a really effective bit of filmmaking. And a wee honourable mention to the end of the series, which is the woman who was protecting the howler monkeys. Her little speech at the end, that was great as well. Number 7, I've got the snow leopards. To be honest, I felt like I had seen everything that snow leopards could do that we could film with snow leopards. So this sequence just took me by surprise, showing you them fighting with dogs and them like hunting yak. That was great. It was just something I hadn't seen before. When I saw snow leopards were going to be in the series, I kind of thought, okay, we'll see, what we saw already in Planet Earth or Planet Earth 2. But no, completely different stuff. Great stuff. I really enjoyed it. It was a very good sequence. Number 6, I've got the wolverines. So from the same episode as the snow leopards, the wolverines were great. Again, as I said with the star-nosed mole, an animal we don't see very often, and we got a really good in-depth look at them. The fact that there's some paternal care going on there is quite unusual. I mean, that doesn't happen in mammals very often, so it's really cool to see here. The fact that we saw the Wolverine kit as well with his mother, that was great. The whole sequence, I just thought it was really good. And number 5, I've got the sperm whales. So take your pick, basically, whether it was the opening scene of the water episode where the people stumble upon the sperm whale, that was great. Later on, seeing them give birth, that was great. I think the best part, though, was seeing sperm whales hunting for giant squid. Even though the sequence wasn't like tremendously well filmed, it was just a suction camera on a sperm whale's back, and we see the ink when it's hunting the giant squid. That is the closest we've ever got to sperm whales hunting giant squid on the big screen outside of, CGI. That's just tremendous. I didn't expect it to ever see that, to be perfectly honest with you. And maybe it gives me a little bit more hope that we might see more in the future. But if that's all we ever get of sperm whales hunting giant squid, I'll take it. It was great. The only reason this isn't higher on my list is because the filmmaking wasn't as good as some other sequences. But this absolutely was tremendous, and it's probably one of the most groundbreaking bits of footage in the series, to be perfectly honest. At number 4, I've got the leopards hunting baboons. So this was from the Dark episode. It's the very first sequence we get in the series, I believe, and it's great. Again, it's as I said, the very first sequence, and it stuck with me right the way through. It's pretty good. The thermal imaging was used to great effect. You can really see how the leopard gets really close to these baboons, and when the jig's up, when it's spotted, the leopard just has to pick a target, and you see how rapid the whole thing is. The fact that the ends of it catches a baboon, and you kind of see the goriness of it, like there's blood dripping down the trees. It's quite gruesome. It sets you up for the series as a whole, I think, because the series does go there. It does go to some quite harsh places, as I've said already with the Arctic foxes. It just set the tone for the series, I think, and it was just a great sequence overall. Number 3, I've got the other sequence from the Dark episode, which I preferred, which was the hyenas hunting buffalo. So again, thermal imaging used to great effect. The hyenas were ghostly. The hyena call itself is a very eerie sound anyway. So to hear it and with the ghostly backdrop of the hyenas and thermal imaging just made it even more effective. The fact that they're taking on a buffalo, I mean, I didn't know they could take on buffalo, let alone a bull buffalo. The fact that we see all these hyenas coming in to take down the buffalo is great. I mean, it's just a tremendous bit of footage. I had no anticipation for that. I didn't expect it. So again, great stuff. Just this sequence and the sequence before proves that thermal imaging is an exceptional way of filming wildlife at night. And I don't think I'll ever see another hyena hunt that will leave me feeling the way I did with this one. Number two is the polar bears hunting reindeer. So this was something again. Seeing polar bears in the trailer, I thought, okay, polar bears are going to be in it. There's going to be an episode about cold. It's kind of obligatory to have polar bears in there. I didn't expect this to be one of the sequences that I will remember for quite a long time. This was a great sequence. Polar bears, not adapted to hunting reindeer, not adapted to hunting animals on land, let alone, animals that are quite fast runners and are adapted to running in the snow. So this was great. You look at the polar bears, it's clumsy chasing these reindeer. However, it uses its cunning to lure them into deeper snow to take them on. That was terrific. I had no expectation for that. The hunt itself is great. It's a long sequence. It's 10 minutes long. It's the longest sequence, I think, of the series, potentially. However, certainly of the episode. And it's just great that the fact that you get these amazing shots of the mountains in the background. I mean, honest to God, just tremendous bit of footage. The whole thing was great. I think everything in this sequence was great, from the close-ups of the polar bear to the shots of them hunting the reindeer, from them, from just the backdrops of the mountains. It was all terrific. I think it was just absolutely brilliant. It was, again, as I said, the second best footage of the series for me. So the number one, if you haven't already guessed it, is not the most enjoyable sequence. It's the sequence that had the greatest impact on me overall, and not necessarily just in a positive way. And that is the orcas hunting humpback whales. So this was a sequence that I'm going to remember for quite a while. This was pretty harrowing. Just seeing orcas hunting whales anyway. We've seen it 100 times before. To be honest, at a point a couple of years ago, I think around Frozen Planet 2, I was thinking, right, I've seen so many orcas hunting whales that I think I've seen it all. This sequence proved that was just not the case. This was a really good sequence. The fact that we see orcas actually kidnapping a humpback whale calf and taking it into deeper water to just kill it is all, as I said, it's kind of perverted. It feels horrible. It adds that extra just sick feeling to it. It was just really good, and the filmmaking was tremendous. And the filmmaking, as you know, was great. It looked great. The whole thing was shot amazingly. I imagine this was a very difficult shoot for the people filming it, and I don't mean physically demanding. I mean on an emotional level. So Whale's death was quite difficult. I rewatched the sequence and it is absolutely just as impactful the second time around. I think looking back when I saw the trailer, I remember thinking, oh, there's a humpback whale calf. Looks like it's playing with two orcas. Like, what's going on there? I feel quite silly looking back on that now, to be honest with you. So no, this was a great sequence. It's the best sequence of the series. It's the one that has stayed with me throughout the whole series. And when I think of the series Mammals, this is the sequence I'm going to think about. So yeah, that's it. So yeah, that's my top 10 moments from the series Mammals. What were your top 10 moments? Did you agree with mine? Were yours completely different? And yeah, so let me know in the comments below. And as this is the last video I will be doing about mammals, feel free to comment about what you'd like me to tackle next. I will be resuming my Planet Earth reviews with the deserts episodes next week. So look forward to that if you're interested. And if you weren't interested at all, then I guess that's that. But no, yeah, and as ever, feel free to like, comment and subscribe. As ever, you don't feel like you need to. However, if you feel like you want to see more stuff, then feel free to do so. I will always appreciate it. And yeah, I guess that's it. That's it for the series Mammals. And I will see you next week. And goodbye.